Live from Studio A in the heart of Delray Gallery, Dawn and Freddie S. and their team are ready to serve up a huge portion of fun for lunch with friends and neighbors. So let's break open that lunch pail and unwrap that sandwich you brought and take a front row seat in the Brooklyn Cafe and get ready to enjoy some humor and hot topics. It's time to get a healthy serving of hope and happiness to help your day go by with a smile. Your hosts, Dawn and Freddie S., are ready to talk about food, health, dating, or just plain dream making. If you have a story to share, a movie review, restaurant critique, or just a coincidental thing that happened to you, call in toll free at 888-565-1470 right now. Sit back and enjoy your lunch break at the Brooklyn Cafe. Here are your hosts, Dawn and Freddie S.
And welcome to the Brooklyn Cafe on a beautiful it's a Wednesday afternoon.
No.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's a Tuesday afternoon.
It's Christmas Eve.
It is Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve
And
afternoon.
there you have it.
It's Tuesday.
Listen, I've been up since 2 in the morning.
Yeah, why
Okay,
is
I've been
that?
working on stuff since I got here. I don't know if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday because stuff moves around in this place.
It is Tuesday, but I'm very excited because we're going to be airing this after hours on Saturday. Because
Oh, that's right. Wait, we gotta start
Wait, can you
over
start again?
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Hello, after hours.
It's not as if I didn't give him the heads up 30 seconds ago. Did I not?
This is the cafe after hours on Saturday. This is Saturday, not Tuesday. Today is Saturday. What the hell are you talking about? 8 o'clock at night.
Because this is an important show that we're going to be airing again after hours on Saturday from 8 to 10 on WWNN because this is something that's so important to discuss, and especially during the holiday season. And I'm excited. I mean, it's not an exciting topic, but it's an exciting topic to educate our community and our audience with. And we've got some great people. I'm so excited. We've sort of have like the next generation of some longtime friends with us as well.
Now, do you remember all of the call signs for the four stations that we're on?
I do.
You do? Let me hear them.
95.3 FM, 1470 AM, 96.3 FM, and 106.9 FM, WWNN.
You have an amazing memory.
It's that teleprompter right there. That's all I can tell you.
And the bottom line here, caring is sharing, so share it out. Let people know that we are coming at you. Are we going to start in January, the remotes again? People have been writing in and asking.
Absolutely. After we get our crew back, because a lot of our interns and producers went home for winter break, and now we're working so hand in hand with Handshake and FAU. I'm so excited that we are part of the FAU internship program. Kids go back to school in January, so then we will have a new crew, a full crew, and we're going to be back on remote. I know Dignity wants us out with them. And a lot of places to go.
Yep.
Out on the road again,
That's right. And listen, you can write in. You can send me your business card. We're starting a campaign. You got mail. You got mail. Okay, so in this card, if there's look at this. If there's something in the card, we will read your business on the air. And this one happens to be our Moby Pop. And then what is the Moby Pop?
For more information, you can always find all of our information on our Moby Pop. You go to your text message, you start a new function, and actually we can have everyone here do it. And the message is CAFE, C-A-F-E. The number is 55312. So just text CAFE to 55312, and all of our information will pop up. You can find the show, our address, where we are, our live shows,
Everything.
how to be on the show.
Yes.
And that is brought to you by Moby Pop. And as a matter of fact, I can actually pass this around. This is really exciting. We opened our Moby box yesterday. And this is our scan QR code. So if you take your photo app and you just scan it, everyone gets to subscribe right to here. So this is really exciting also. This is a great way to take your business to the next level on digital marketing with SMS campaigns, emails, and you don't have to worry anymore about all these paper cards that we have piles of.
Yes, which I'm dying to get rid of. But yes, so check it out. You can Moby Pop, and we are going to be announcing Moby Pop Lounge on Thursday. She's
Thursday
going to
nights
have
at
her
7:30
show there.
p.m.
As well, a whole bunch of stuff coming at you. All right, where are we? What are we doing? This is mine.
That is yours. We've got Luis Garcia with us. We've got attorney Mark Astor, and we've got Lizzie Hurley, right? Not Elizabeth, we go with Lizzie Hurley. They all walked in. They go, "Aren't you cold?" I go, "No, welcome to 52. They said, "Oh, just wait. It gets so much more fun." So just say, yeah, I know. It's kind of
scary.
scary.
I'm not 52 anymore.
I know.
It does get warm, though. It was a little warm in here. Now it's comfortable.
It's a beautiful day out. We've had the bay doors open, and I'm excited because a couple weeks ago, Liz Sant, who we know for years,
Yes.
tagged me on a post to reach out to Luis, and then Mara saw it, one of our old interns,
Yeah.
and the opioid pandemic is so near and dear to Mara's heart. Mara worked with us for last summer, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they tagged us, and I never got around to texting you. And then I saw it again. I was tagged again. I said, I have to reach out to Luis because what you're doing is so remarkable, so well needed, so sad that this is what's needed in our community and in our country and worldwide. But you saw a need and you've reached out. So I'm glad you're here, and you've got attorney Mark Astor, and we're going to find out what everybody does, and Lizzie and Dawn. So we'll change sets when we go to commercial break, and then
Okay.
I think we've got more people coming on the next hour.
Okay.
So
We're
stay
ready to rock
tuned for
and roll.
that. So welcome, Luis. Welcome everyone to our set.
Good morning.
Happy Christmas Eve day. It's really exciting that we get to do this now, this time of year.
Well, it's interesting because I spoke to Captain
Kennedy, Captain Diaz.
Captain Diaz yesterday in the evening, and he wanted to be here today, but he couldn't because we were talking about. He was on the set the other day. We were
He's
talking
running for
about
sheriff of Palm Beach County.
Yeah, and we were talking about the unfortunate consequence of what's happening in West Palm Beach, being anointed number one in the country with this horrible situation. So it was a coincidence. He was here last week. These fine people are here this week.
We have no coincidences on our set.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's an interesting bag of shells you got going here. So let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about what Luis does.
Luis, tell us your story, your background, how all of this came to be.
Okay. And my name is Luis Garcia. I'm a retired 28-year firefighter paramedic. I retired almost 8 years ago. I live in and retired from the City of Point Beach Fire Department. After retirement, I went into the insurance restoration field, and that job requires us to listen to fire scanner radios. So we hear all the 911 fire and EMS calls. We are seeking insurance restoration contracts. I work for a national company. But we noticed about 7-8 years ago, myself and the team of retired firefighters that I lead, that there was a dramatic increase in our area of opioid overdoses. Now, this problem's been going on probably 20, 25 years, but it's gotten really bad in the last decade here in Palm Beach. And when that happened, we approached our bosses, said, can we start carrying equipment? We feel weird going through past emergencies, being paramedics, so we were given permission to carry everything a civilian can carry. So we were equipped with automatic defibrillators, first aid kits, EpiPens, everything a civilian can carry. And then 3 years ago, the Food and Drug Administration approved a high-dosage civilian use nasal spray, which is much more powerful. I'm going to have Lizzie or Mark, somebody will teach you a little bit later about the differences. People don't realize this little spray that you can get at CVS or Walgreens is much more powerful than what fire rescue is going to give you if there's an overdose.
What is the spray?
Okay, the spray is called Narcan. Narcan is the most common name, the generic name of naloxone hydrochloride.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what format it's given in, whether fire rescue gives it, or it's an auto-injector, or it's a spray. It's all the same, Narcan naloxone hydrochloride. The game changer is the big difference, the dosage in each. So Narcan naloxone hydrochloride is a drug that I used in my 28 years in fire rescue probably about 3,000 times on overdoses. And almost always it works. It brings back the dead, literally. Like the Lazarus story in the Bible, like that scene from Pulp Fiction. It brings back the dead.
Like dead from...
Dead.
Dead.
No pulse,
Done.
no breathing.
No
Yeah.
nothing.
Dead. Dead is dead.
This is Lizzie Hurley. She helps me very closely on my efforts along with the folks who are here. Lizzie helped me teach a bunch of classes. And she can tell you more about that too.
What's the time frame on administering the Narcan? Someone dies, dead, right? This isn't like
The time window that
unconscious,
that is
this
back. Yeah.
isn't low pulse, this is dead. To get this Narcan into someone, to bring them back to life, what is your time frame of getting to that?
Well, probably before 8 minutes, hopefully,
good,
because
yeah. Okay.
after
16
that,
minutes.
Okay.
after that, we're thinking there's going to be some brain damage.
And how did you get so involved with this?
Well, believe it or not, I met Luis on a dance floor.
That's my addiction, dancing.
That's good.
At least that's a healthy addiction, right? And I came to know what he did, and I have a brother who I lost to the disease of addiction. Gosh, it's been 20 years now.
Wow.
So,
I got a question. The spray that you are showing does how many shots can you get off of it?
one.
Okay, so if you use it on someone who needs it and it doesn't work, you better have a second one.
That works.
No, this one will work. But let's.
In general, 91% of the time, ADAP Pharma has reported to the Food and Drug Administration that one spray, which is
Should be
4
enough.
milligrams, is more than enough. Understand, I've got these stacked over here. I don't know if you can see them on the camera, but I've got these 4. Let me reach up here. This is very important since we're talking about that. Fire Rescue is only going to give you 1 milligram at a time. I'll just reach over. Okay, so.
So Fire Rescue, you said, only gives you 1 milligram
And
at
the
a
ER,
time.
and we'll get into that a little bit later, I'm sure. But just understand, this is how we gave it. This is how I gave it in 28 years in fire rescue. We give you an ampule, 1 milligram at a time. IV,
On the IV?
IM, whatever it is. So 4 of these are needed to have the same potency as one of these nasal sprays.
Okay.
There's auto injector that I have 10 of them stacked there, and these people, police departments have been using for about 7 years. They only have, I'll ask you, how good are your eyes? Can you see that little white number there?
0.4?
Very good, 0.4. So if this is 4.0 and this is only 0.4,
Wow.
how many of these are need to have the same power?
A whole bunch.
10. So that first lesson of the day. First lesson. Have you guys heard? I'm sure you may have read online or heard about somebody where they say, "Wow," it's on the front page of a paper somewhere. It says they had such a bad overdose they had to receive 8 dosages or 10 dosages.
Correct.
It's because they were fire rescues only giving 0.5 at a time, or the auto injector only had 0.4.
And the reason for such a low dosage.
Right.
You know what? I'll leave that can of worms for a little bit later because that's a heavy topic, but I'll get into it when we get into the therapeutics. But just in a nutshell, to answer your original question. So this is a high dosage spray. The important points are this came out 3 years ago, FDA approved, for civilian untrained rescuer use. It's designed for what's killing most Americans: fentanyl, carfentanil, acrylfentanyl, acetylfentanyl, phenyl derivatives, phenyl analogs.
This is designed for civilian use?
Yes, untrained civil. Right now, legally, right now, as of this year, in every state, a 10-year-old child can legally carry, possess, buy, and use this spray with no training and with complete civil immunity.
Over the counter.
Every state, every U.S. state. It's not actually over the counter. What they've done is every single state health department, county, or city medical director has written a standing order. So technically, it's still a prescription item, but anybody can walk into a CVS or Walgreens, you present your insurance card, and tell them, "I'd like Narcan." They order it 2 or 3 days, you have it, you have to pay your copay. So I don't know if that clarified. There's a standing order, and CVS and Walgreens have said that if you can't get a standing prescription from your county or state medical director in every state, CVS and Walgreens are committed. So you don't need a prescription. You
Okay,
don't
but wait a
behind
minute.
that.
I'm confused. If I go to Walgreens
Yeah.
and I show my insurance card, they're
And
going to
you
give
say,
me
"I'd
one.
like Narcan." No
They're going to give me
questions
one of
asked.
those. They're going to give me it.
Yes,
No
2 or
problem.
3 days. Not all of them have them on stock. It normally takes them a day or 2 to order it. And it doesn't matter if you haven't been to a doctor and don't have a prescription. It doesn't matter if you're not being treated for opioids. It doesn't matter if you're not currently in alcohol or drug or psychiatric treatment. It doesn't matter if you haven't been to a doctor in 5 years. Virtually every insurance plan covers it, and if not, CVS and Walgreens will let you buy it for cash, the cash price, if you don't have insurance, which is about $150 to $170 for a box of 2.
And tell people this is near and dear to your heart. I know Mark is involved with this. Who actually goes to CVS and keeps this with them? Well, who even has that forethought to say, you know what, I need to have something with me? And then this is a lower potency versus what you have, so why not just go with what you got? I know that's the political side of it, but who would even have that foresight to go into CVS and say,
Well, think
I need
about
this?
it. You have a first aid kit in
We have
here.
a caller? Okay.
Great.
Yep.
We don't have
Who-
the speaker set up, though.
No, we don't have the speaker. You have to put it on there.
I'll answer that real quick. That's part of our whole discussion with Lizzie and myself and Mark's help and Don. What we focus on is educating and stigma. Most people have no idea. They have no idea what you just learned, that you can go in as long as you have health insurance, and CVS and Walgreens don't require a script.
All right, we have a
Interesting.
caller.
What's the call? Yes, caller. You're on the air. Maybe on the air.
Miss Ellen, can you hear us?
Hit that button.
Can you hear us?
Maybe
All
not.
right, hold on. I'm gonna try and put
Try
you
the
on
speaker.
All right, can you hear us?
Go
All
ahead.
right.
I think I
All
heard
right,
it.
I'm gonna do it this way. All right, you're good to ask your question.
Good morning.
Morning.
You here, Freddie?
Hi there. My name's Ellen.
Her name is Ellen. How are you, Ellen?
I'm good. I was just wondering how we could help Lewis in promoting this on GoFundMe.
They want to
get
help
more
you
donations.
promote this on the GoFundMe page, and she wants more information. How can she help?
Oh, okay. That's great. Great question. Thank you. And I can't thank you enough that social media and news media have been powerful. I wouldn't be where I am. I have a GoFundMe page. It's the same name as my Facebook page, called USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan.
It's actually right up on the screen also.
Oh, wonderful. Beautiful. Yeah, USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. GoFundMe. Excellent. And a Facebook page by the same name. I'm a one-man show. I'm not a 501c3, so I only make it thanks to GoFundMe and dragging along these poor people to host. And once in a while, Mark has generously donated. Lizzie's helped. I mean, I couldn't make it without GoFundMe and helpers.
Now, the interesting aspect of everything that's going on here is that the police department and the fire department paramedics are carrying the lower dose. And that must be a money issue. But let's assume for a minute that that's being done on this side. And then we have the availability of having it. So if you have a first aid kit,
right,
and you want to have it on premise, God forbid that you ever have to use it, you have it. I mean, you get a first aid kit, you don't expect anybody to
Well, you think
get a
about people
tourniquet
who take their CPR training and all of the things they tell you to have, right? You have the mouth guard, you have the tubing, everything. Maybe this should be part of that.
Bingo. Thank you so much. That's if nothing else at the end of this show, if the public realizes a Narcan nasal spray is no different than a smoke detector, a fire extinguisher, an EpiPen, an automatic defibrillator, it should be in every single American first aid kit. No questions asked. Nobody would think twice about a smoke detector or fire extinguisher, but when they understand it's used for opioid overdoses, people look at it differently.
Well, that's another.
It's a life-saving
It's the
emergency.
stigma,
tool.
right, of the opioid?
That's another thing, to be
Yeah.
able to have the conversation. How many people, it's like when I was growing up, and we used to go buy rubbers. True fact, right? You go to buy rubbers because you didn't want to get somebody pregnant, you didn't want to get sick and everything else. I bet, okay, hold on. I bet you $100 none of my friends would go to the pharmacist because you had to get them over the counter. You had to get them wherever, right? Or you had to pay for them. And nobody wanted to have this conversation about that. This is a whole lot more serious here.
Oh yeah, this is life or death.
People are going to ask you why. Oh, really? And they're going to give you with the one eyebrow goes that way and the
Yes.
other one goes that way. And then you're going to say, because I can, because I have a show, whatever. I mean,
Because
what's
it's
the
important to
reason
save
you're
a
going to do
life?
that? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We had somebody that had a peanut allergy here. And she was on the set, sitting right there. And she had peanuts and something that somebody cooked, and we didn't know I had peanuts.
Wow.
And she drove herself to emergency. She was one of our interns, right? And from that moment on, we decided that we wanted to carry the EpiPen or something, but she has it now. She carries it on her. I won't let her back in here if she doesn't. But she drove herself to the emergency room. God forbid that kid
We don't
didn't
want
make
to do
it.
that ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Same problem. Nobody wants to talk about this,
Yeah.
which is even more.
Well, we're talking
Correct.
about the stigma of what's going on in our country, and I want to talk to Mark because, Mark, this is what you do. You drug and alcohol attorneys.com.
Right. So we're a law firm based here in Boca Raton, and we do one thing and one thing only, and that's help families and individuals who are in crisis because of substance use, mental illness, or eating disorders. So we take calls from all over the country, mums, dads, spouses, siblings, who call us because their loved ones are addicted to drugs. They have issues with mental illness, which typically goes along with the substance use disorder and eating disorders. And they call us for help. They want us to help them to get their loved ones into treatment, and more importantly, make sure they stay there long enough so they can experience that miracle of recovery. Because if you don't keep somebody in recovery long enough, in my experience, it's typically a year, they're more likely than not to relapse. And this is a disease that just gets worse with time. It's like cancer. If you don't treat it and you can't get it into recovery, kind of like cancer, getting it into remission, it's going to eventually either kill you or send you to prison. So, those are the choices: treatment, prison, or the morgue. And, that's how serious this stuff is, which is why Luis does what he does.
It's interesting because through our internship program, and we have crew, 200-300 have come through our set over the past couple years. And we get a lot of different people, a lot of different things. And one of our interns, I remember calling me saying that, no, we can do that, no problem. Saying, my boyfriend, his mother put him in, based on the Mariners Act, I want to say?
Marchman Act. Sure.
Marchman's Act. And he wanted to leave. He couldn't leave. I got this whole story. Why couldn't he leave? Now, illegally, I don't know. Was the door unlocked? Yes, he could have left. So he didn't leave. He stayed. And then we never heard from her again. And she wanted to do remember she wanted to do a whole show, a whole segment on that and legally what it is. Can you explain what's going on between the different acts and the different laws there are?
Sure. So we have the Baker Act, which I know pretty much everybody's heard of, right? You call the police, and they come along and somebody's yelling, I'm going to kill myself or I'm going to kill somebody else, and they get basically placed in a receiving facility for 72 hours, and then they get released. Okay, so it's kind of a Band-Aid. The Marchman Act is a statute that is specific to Florida that allows you to go and get a court order and put somebody into treatment for periods of 90 days. So my average client works with us for about 6 months, and then they work the program for 6 months afterwards. They have a sponsor, they're going to meetings, they might go to some type of outpatient care. So it enables us to sort of get to that 1 year milestone. So it's a whole lot more serious than, say, just the Baker Act. It's not a Band-Aid. It can and it does routinely get people into recovery, long-term recovery.
But this is a loved one can do this. Now, what if they don't want to go? Is it a choice? Is it done through the police?
So, yes, all of the above kind of thing. So, typically families call me when they're absolutely desperate. They're at the wit's end. So we get calls of people, someone maybe, they're currently in a facility, they've been Baker Acted, or the night before they've overdosed, or they're currently in the emergency room because they overdosed 3 or 4 hours ago and now they're calling me. So in those situations, the courts here in Florida allow me to file what's known as an emergency ex parte petition. In other words, I'm going to file a request for an emergency court order without stepping foot in the courthouse, without the other person even knowing it, and ask a judge to give me the authority to either make sure somebody stays where they are, if they're, say, in a receiving facility because they've been Baker Acted, or so I can send my investigator out, who's a retired cop, to pick them up off the street, go find them and pick them up off the street and put them in a facility where I'm going to keep them for 5, 7, maybe even 10 days, and then I'm going to have a hearing in front of the judge and ask that judge to send them into treatment for a period of up to 90 days.
Now, is there an arm's length relationship that has to be established? I mean, there are shooting galleries. If you went to Atlantic Avenue 3 years ago, and now they've cleaned it up, they sort of gotten this way. There are shooting galleries all over the place over there, and you make a left and you're in the gallery, everybody's doing their thing. Can somebody go in there and say, okay, this whole lot, take them out? Can that be done? Or do you have to have a relationship with the person that you're calling you for?
So if it's somebody over 18, basically it only takes one person with direct personal knowledge of the person's substance use
You have
disorder.
to have personal knowledge.
It can't be what somebody else has told me through a friend's brother, right? I have to know personally what's been going on. If they're a minor, it has to be either a parent or a legal guardian. So, interestingly enough, we're starting to get calls about individuals who are younger and younger and younger. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I had a young man, he was 17, he had been in treatment, he'd walked out, gone missing for 3 days. His mother called me in an absolute panic. So I filed an emergency court order, I sent my investigator out, and he's a former deputy sheriff here in Palm Beach County. What he did was, he called his guys over at the sheriff's office and said, I got this emergency court order, and I need to find this kid. They put out a bolo, be on the lookout. And they found the kid. They picked him up off the street. But his mother was desperate. And we're getting those calls from kids who are younger and younger and younger because they're starting younger. They're getting prescribed medications. They're smoking marijuana. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, as crazy as the stuff that Luis has seen,
right?
There really is.
Yeah, I want to add
There
something
is.
there to answer that question. So it's why it's very important for a family that can afford to deal with a private attorney. It makes a big difference. You asked about whether we can go into a whole, it's called a trap house now in the opioid crisis. It's no longer a shooting gallery, it's a trap house is the term used. We can't go in and take everybody in. Police officers legally can initiate a Baker Act or a Marchman Act or a judicial ex parte is the other route. They normally turn to us, the fire rescue paramedic. So even though it's weird, we're the ones who say, yes, I think he should be Baker or Marchman Acted or not, and the police follow whatever we tell them. But it's a lot of paperwork, and it's a pain in the butt. The Baker Act is hardly used, and the Marchman Act is almost never used by law enforcement, ever. It's just, they don't think about it and they don't do it. So it's really important that a family member go on their own. They can do it without an attorney, but go through the courts and get a judicial ex parte. A Marchman Act.
Anybody can do that.
Anybody
Yeah.
can. You have to know the person personally, you said.
Yeah, and we take calls all the time from as far west as California. I have Marchman Acted kids that came in here from California just to go to treatment. If a family just wants papers filed, they probably don't need me. They should save their money and spend it on treatment. My goal is to work with the family for a minimum of 3 months. Right? Because recovery is never a straight line. There's going to be non-compliance. God forbid a child walks out of treatment at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, right? Things of that nature. They go missing. That's what I do, right? I help to save people's kids. I'm not here to file papers. You don't need me for that. You can either do it yourself or find a lawyer who's a whole lot cheaper. If you want to keep your loved one in long-term recovery, I'm the guy that wants to have a conversation with you. That's what I do.
Now, let me ask you, because people writing in, recovery, expensive.
Yeah, you know.
I
Freddie-
mean, thousands of dollars. This is not cheap.
For this?
Yeah, look, that's a really, really good point. It really is. And I've had this conversation with our state attorney, Dave Ehrenberg, when I've been up to the task force. And look, if you don't have insurance or cash pay, you're going to be relying on a county facility. Here in South County, we have the Drug Abuse Foundation. If you're in the North End, it's JFK. There's absolutely no question that people who don't have financial resources are at a significant disadvantage. I mean, we got to make treatment available to everybody. Perhaps that's a whole other show and a different conversation. But you're 100% right. It's a real problem if you don't have financial resources. I agree with you.
I mean, I no disrespect, but I wish I could put you out of business because this is trying to resolve a problem, but we're not attaching the problem.
This is only part of the answer, yes.
You have a caller?
So you got a caller? Thanks.
Yes, we have messages from our callers.
Oh, sure.
We had Miss Ellen Isaacs call in. She asked the first question. She wanted to thank you guys so much for everything you're doing. She is an angel mom. Yeah. She lost her son to insufficient resources. She does have a coalition for her son. That's Ryan's Opioid Pandemic Coalition that I asked her to link in our comments. But she wanted to thank you guys for opening the door, breaking down the walls, and that she really supports you guys. And thank everyone for what you're doing.
Now, there you have an example. She lost her son, and why?
Yeah. And I want to come back to that with Don.
Freddie, we're on the same page on that.
I hear you.
You're 100% right.
Great.
And then we had one more caller who called in. Miss Bailey said that she was training with Lewis a few months ago and that she's a big advocate for this. And again, thank you for everything that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And our number, if you want to give us a call, is 888-994-4995. And Liz Sant says, thank you for everything you do. I don't even know how you know Liz, but Liz says hi and everything that we've done.
Well, people are writing in that have worked with you and know of you and the good work that you're doing. And, like we do here, every day we want to push it forward and make some more noise. I think that if you make enough noise, somebody's going to have to make a move on
That's
something.
the only way change happens, Freddie.
And I want to bring Don over here and Lizzie and let them talk a little bit more because I couldn't do this without the folks who've been directly impacted. Before I step away, I just want to answer your original question. So for me, it's purely scientific, nothing more. I personally have never tried drugs. I've never been intoxicated. Don't smoke, don't drink. I don't judge. I can't explain why my disease, my addiction is not that. It is a disease, number one. But I personally have never known anybody. I don't make any money off this. I have no vested interest. But my heart goes out to people like Don and Lizzie who are just passionate because they've been touched by somebody they love and care about. It's so important. My mission would not have grown if it were not for angel moms, which was a new term to me that I found out is somebody who's lost an adult child to an opioid death. Mm-hmm. So it's an incredible number. I mean, I still cry sometimes, but I couldn't have moved forward. I would have been done a long time ago. I'll get back to that later if my GoFundMe had run out. If it weren't for the angel moms and people helping me at events.
I was going to say, how are people finding out about you? Because you started this, you told me, with your own money.
Right.
You said, you know what, and I don't know how you found it, how you even came to be with this, but you put in X amount of money, you got a certain amount of sprays, and then it grew.
And well, social media, it's shocking. It's a double-edged sword. I hate it because I'm addicted to Facebook now, and I spend a ridiculous amount of time. But if it weren't
we can take care of that for you, Luis. We can help you with that.
Right, get me into treatment.
Get with them after the show.
If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have had HBO spend 4 days with me last week. They had a film crew here. We spent 4 days together. There's a documentary airing in 13 months. I wouldn't have an Israeli TV station coming in on January 10th with all of us. We're going to be at the Palm Beach Synagogue. If any of your students would like to attend the next free class, can I mention it?
Please.
The Palm Beach Orthodox Synagogue at 120 North County Road on January 10th, 1 to 3. It's on my Facebook page, and I do ask everybody to register. But it's a 2-hour class, and everybody walks out with a free spray. And folks like these help me teach it. But I wouldn't have had them find me if it weren't for the internet. The key was GoFundMe made me their hero about a year and a half ago. And that's what skyrocketed. Brute, a French TV crew came in. Then a German crew came in, Mafic, that had the Facebook page in the now. That should be appearing any day. I don't know how they find me. The internet is still, to me, mind-boggling.
Yeah, but what you do.
Crazy.
First of all, you were a firefighter.
28 years, firefighter, paramedic.
In New York City, I knew a lot of firefighters.
Those were real firemen. We're just paramedics here pretending to be firemen.
Well, I used to coach their sons in football, but I'm going to tell you, they're not wired straight anyway, because anybody that walks into something that's burning down around you, you're not wired straight. So it doesn't surprise me. This is what these guys do. I mean, they save lives. Everybody runs away from things. They're running into it. But political year. And we don't do politics on the show, but I'm going to bring it up anyway because you got to make some noise. You got to do it at the right time. So you got people going in for sheriff. We have all 4 have been on this show. I think it's time to have a little coffee,
yeah.
a little chit chat or something with them. Because even in whoever you backs you or whatever and doesn't win, you're still going to be making some noise.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned. I want to throw out two things. Melissa McKinley, their mayor, she is the only government official in Florida that is extremely high profile and active in advocating for substance use disorder. And Dave Attenberg is one of the few state attorneys in the country that's been very aggressive. I mean, big shout out to Mayor McKinley and State Attorney Attenberg. They've made huge inroads in Palm Beach County. With my GoFundMe money, I was able to go to Montana, Kentucky, California, Arkansas, and Tennessee. And I was shocked. The same problems appear over and over, but there's very little political support. So it's like what we said earlier. The beds aren't funded for detox or rehab if the politicians don't support it. And it all goes back to stigma.
Well, it's a
it's a stigma thing, right? We've talked about this. What is it the stigma of the opioids, but there's no stigma of
I want to give up my
smoking?
seat to Dawn and have her come up here a little,
Sure.
if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
So why don't we go to commercial break?
And then we'll
Let's
take a
give
break.
out your information again.
Sure.
Your GoFundMe page is...
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. My GoFundMe is easily found. It's USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. I have a Facebook page by the same name. And if they just don't remember that, they could just Google Luis Garcia Narcan. There's 15 pages on Google now.
And Mark, I want to give out your information before we go to break
Sure.
again.
The website's drugandanalcoholattorneys.com, or they can email me, Mark at drugandanalcoholattorneys.com, or they can just call me, 561-419-6095. We take calls
And before we
24/7.
break, can I also plug Lizzie, who's helped me immensely and donated and helped, and Dawn, because they both have something they do.
They're going to be joining us on the next segment.
Okay,
So give
great.
us a call,
Perfect.
888-994-4995. We're going to get those phones up and working. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Sharing is caring, and this information is so important. So if you're watching our feed, if you like our feed, even if you don't like our feed, it's important information.
Share it
Just
out
share
anyway.
it, because you know what? Someone's going to see it, and it's going to make a difference in one person's life. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Does your business Moby Pop? A new way to grow your business. Using a simple keyword, drive customers right to you with just a click. Customers will receive your personalized digital business card within seconds with all your contact information in one place, including a gallery of photos, videos, and clear call to action that drives sales. Promote your products and services, or share a hot new listing with custom event pages and RSVP form, boosting qualified leads. Special offers and promotions are directly sent to your potential customers' phones with text campaigns, increasing foot traffic and creating a loyal following. Let MobiPop drive your marketing campaign. Focus on your business. Let MobiPop focus on growing it.
Sexy, seductive, and beautiful. Looking for a professional and talented photographer? Danielle Boujon specializes in capturing flirtatious and tasteful images for yourself or your partner. Located in South Florida, Danielle really knows how to bring out your inner beauty on a shoot. Visit her website at www.daniellebuljan.com or call her at 561-305-2241 to capture your most desirable moments.
If a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Have you ever felt that your voice goes unheard? And you think that you can make a difference if only someone would just listen? It's time for women in business to have a place to step into your power, a platform to embrace your hopes, dreams, and your visions, a voice to heal and restore. Your voice can make a difference. We have the platform to share your story and let your voice be heard. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself the chance to be heard and shine bright. Contact New Dawn Media by texting CAFE to 80800. That's CAFE to 80800.
excited about with this new part of the reef is to see what happens with the animals moving from one side to the other and what the growth will be from 10 years worth of mature corals and sponges and things, and what the movement will be onto the new reef.
And we're back.
Yeah, we are back at the Brooklyn Cafe live after hours. Give us a call at 888-994-4995. You got your memory span. Maybe they can help you out with that too.
I gotta tell you, you changed the curtains.
I like it a lot.
Not crazy.
I like it a lot.
Not too crazy.
I always say I don't know how we work together because you love the dark black and
Because
I love
like
the light.
The light, it's too light behind me.
I like the light. I like to open the bay
but now
door.
I can't
like
see
to
the
let the
cars
fresh
and
air
stuff
in.
behind me anymore. You washed them out.
Maybe you'll be able to see them on air.
When there was a truck coming at me, a guy was screaming on the radio. He was coming at me. I could watch that. No, I can't. I don't know what's coming back there.
Well, we can always change it around. We've only been here, a month, 6 weeks?
Something like that.
Every day with us a little bit more. So you see blue tape everywhere and paint, but this place is truly a gift from God that we get to be here. And having all of you, Luis and Mark and Lizzie and Dawn joining us, I'm so excited that we're here. Marcy, welcome. Thank you. A longtime friend, second generation coming forward and joining us on our set. Our crew is doing great. We're sharing the pandemic of the opioid crisis. And I want to talk because, as I mentioned before, we've had so many interns and producers, over 200-300, and the legalizing of marijuana. And we've talked about, is it a gateway? Is it not? Where does it start? And I'm going to ask you, Lizzie, is it the stigma of marijuana that starts it? Is it people starting on prescription drugs that gets to the next level? Is it mental illness? All of the above?
Well, I think it is a combination of all of the above. And, contrary to what my peers may think, I do believe that marijuana is a gateway drug, without a doubt. But the stigma I wanted to say something about is, it's funny, because nowadays, here we are, 2019, getting ready to go into 2020. Very few people, Luis is actually, one of a kind, because very few people can actually say they don't know somebody affected by the opioid crisis. We all know somebody. So why is there still such a stigma around that?
Because nobody wants to talk about the truth.
Nobody wants to cop to it.
Nobody. I mean, the bottom line here is everybody. If you got to the dentist, you're taking opioids. If you go anywhere, I remember when I was in high school, we used to do this stuff, football injuries, and we used to get high on pharmaceuticals from everybody.
Sure.
And until my father found out, and that was the end of that.
Well, is it the stigma or is it the fear that you don't want something to happen to them and that we bury our heads because we don't know how to deal with it? Because what's the stigma? So you take opioids.
Can you hear me okay on this?
Yeah, that's why I wanted
Okay,
to have a mic.
I
What
want
is
to throw
the
something. It's a
stigma?
very good point. I am an anomaly because I haven't found anybody else doing this. But for me, again, I go back to the pure science. People say, we all know how bad it is. It's all over the news. 72,000 Americans died in 2017. But population-wise, that's less than 0.5% of the 338 million Americans. I hate to generalize, but I've come to a conclusion after 2.5 years of doing this, that even among rescuers and medical professionals, unless somebody has lost a loved one to alcohol or drugs, unless they work in the addiction field, unless they're working a 12-step program, or unless they know somebody whose kid is battling drugs right now and they think they're a good kid, most people don't have any knowledge. They go with social media, which gives very bad information, and it's generally biased and stigma-based. That's all it comes down to.
But what's the stigma? Why is there a stigma, Dawn?
Well, I think that today, because of the opioid epidemic, so many more people, and now they're not even able to get that much from the doctors. They're going on the street to get heroin, fentanyl. And when you hear that people are shooting heroin, then people think, oh, well, they're like the dreck of the dreck on the street, and really they're our kids.
They're kids looking for help.
That's a very good point, but to answer that in a nutshell, it all comes down to this. The vast majority of our fellow Americans believe it's a choice.
Absolutely.
And that's where they're wrong.
What do you
I can
mean
tell
a choice?
It's far worse than anything I ever saw in my
It's not
fire
an
rescue
addiction.
career.
They think it's a choice. You
Right.
can just stop when you want to stop,
Well,
or
the
you
problem
choose
is-
to take
yeah.
it.
People don't realize this is far more insidious than crack cocaine, heroin, crystal meth, bath salts. And
What
I'll leave
is?
it
Oh,
at that. The
what-
opioids are far more addicting and harder to beat.
Well, let me ask whoever, I don't know who to even put this question to. What is, by definition, the opioid? If we're taking out crack and we're taking out heroin, and what's opioid?
An opioid is any opioid derivative, any narcotic, virtually all pain medicines. 96% of anything you get for pain with a prescription is an opioid. People don't realize Ultram has tramadol has opioids in it. So virtually anything used for pain is an opioid.
And the Narcan is helping with the opioid, but will it help with a heroin overdose?
Yes.
Will it help
They're
with...
all narcotics. They're all in the general
So the
family of
Narcan
narcotics.
will help with all of those overdoses?
Yes, Narcan will work on that. It'll also work on the stuff that's used to wean people off. If somebody's overdosed on methadone or Suboxone, subs, or if they're taking Vivitrol to counteract it, they could still overdose. Narcan will work, and Lizzie and Don will tell you more about it. Narcan is a no harm, no foul tool to save a life.
Right.
Now, you do notice that when it gets nice and warm down here and you have all those people up, let him hold the mic, and you have all those people up north, they ship everybody down here. They give you a one-way ticket.
Well, that used to be the whole sort of marketing campaign for the treatment centers, right? Come to Florida, sit on the beach, and get well.
Yes.
And then we started arresting people, thank goodness, right? And the ones that were cheating either got arrested or just flat went out of business. So I think it's changed a bit, but here's a good reason to come to Florida, because we have, not only do we still have a really good core of treatment centers down here, and I can tell you that from experience, but we have a statutory framework that enables you. So if you're sending your kid 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 miles to come to treatment here, you have a statutory framework like the Marchman Act, like the guardianship statute, that will give you some kind of safety net. So if your child becomes non-compliant, walks out of treatment, you got some recourse. You're not sitting in California and your child's sitting in Palm Beach County and saying, what do I do now because my kid walked out of treatment, right? There's no real equivalent to the Marchman Act anywhere in the country.
Only in this
It's only in
state?
Florida?
Only in Florida.
But that's the good side of the story.
Right.
The ugly side of the story is they put them on a bus, they send them down here, they get off at a bus station, and they go live on the street.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you're a parent that calls a treatment center and they say, oh, we'll send you a bus ticket, I don't care if they even tell you, we're going to send you a toothbrush. You should run 1,000,000 miles away from that facility. Okay, you shouldn't be expecting any incentives from any treatment center. That's patient broken and it's illegal. So stay away from those folks, okay? So, I mean, if you're coming to Florida, it should be for one reason and one reason only. It's because you believe the facility you're sending your loved one to can take care of them and get them into recovery. That's it. And if you don't think there's a facility down here that can do that, don't send them here. There's plenty of
Well,
other facilities.
you're talking about families. When Captain Diaz was here, I know people who live on the streets by the highways and everything else, and I've actually seen the sheriff take them from one
I
town
wish
to
Tiffany
another.
were here right now, actually, but
Yeah, and from one town to another. And Tiffany, one of our interns, who's now back on, she's the poster child of, it took her 9 years. She lived in the street, and she told Captain Diaz, she says, nobody cared about me for 2.5 years. Nobody came to my aid, and all they had was drugs on the street.
I want to
Because
ask
that's what
Dawn
they
her
wanna know.
story also. Well, whatever you want to share of how you're involved and why this means so much to you.
Okay, in 1986, I got into recovery, so I'm clean 33 years, and that does include
Congratulations.
alcohol, any substance. And I went through a 12-step program. I did not go into treatment. I got clean in the rooms of, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but anyway, another 12-step program. I then started, I did a lot of helping people, and I waited before I started to work in the field until I had 10 years clean, because I think that you need to get pretty healthy before you do that. I then opened up a recovery residence. I did not offer any professional services. This was transitional housing only, and in the beginning I tried, women with men and kids, but that's very, very difficult, and I realized that I needed to specialize just with the women. And being able to be a power of example, I can be available to help people a lot more. I've been doing that for 23 years, and I also kind of want to switch as far as when you spoke about choices. My son started smoking weed, and I also started with smoking weed. That was my personal gateway drug. He was off to the races. He grew up with two parents that were both in recovery. He never saw us use or anything. He'd seen us with our recovery residences. He'd met all of them. He'd been in meetings. He was crawling on the floor of Crossroads Club, which is the meeting house. But he still picked up weed, and it escalated. As he got older, excuse me, he did start doing heroin. It was easier to get than Roxy's or Oxy's or anything. But a lot of the kids in middle school and high school get that right out of their parents' medicine cabinet. That's how it starts. And when they started to restrict the Roxy's, it got more expensive, then all of a sudden you started to hear about Dilaudid. And that became a really big thing.
Well, how is your son now?
My son has passed away.
I'm sorry.
I lost him 19 months ago.
I'm sorry.
He struggled a lot with his addiction. He had been in at least 5 different treatment centers. Even went to a therapeutic boarding school that was 12-step based from age 16 to right before he turned 18. In different intervals, he was clean, but he didn't think that he had a problem with marijuana. And every time he did smoke marijuana, it escalated till he started doing heroin again. He had several overdoses. He ended off having 3 felonies as a result of his addiction. And I didn't actually lose him from an overdose, which was the way I thought I was going to. But he was high when he died. He was killed on a scooter. Somebody turned in front of him. I also lost my nephew this year. His was an overdose, and he was alone. So most of the overdoses happen, well, not most of them, but a lot of them happen when you're alone. So there isn't Narcan available. However, there's so many people that have been saved, and I too have used Narcan to save a couple of the women that were in my recovery residence. There was really bad dope at that time in the neighborhood, and with the fentanyl they had given us, at that time we only had this, which, like Luis had said, not
Wasn't
very
enough.
strong, and I used a couple of them and they were still gurgling on the ground, and thank God that the paramedics got there right after I had administered a second one, because I was out of them. And Luis was very generous to me to be able to trade the ones that I had in for
The strong stuff.
Stronger stuff. Mark, is there
Yes.
anything we can do to help families, to help these kids?
Yeah, look, I like to think what I do saves a lot of lives, and it does. But every once in a while, I get a phone call from a mum, and typically the mum that calls me, and they tell us what happened, right? I mean, we get people into treatment, but it's not a guarantee. It's the first step, right? So thank you for coming on and sharing your story, because it's not easy to share that story, and I can tell you from my perspective, it's not an easy phone call to get. But I think as parents, be nosy parents. Stick your beak in where maybe your child doesn't want it to be. Find out what's going on with your kids. Pay attention to what they're doing. I get calls from moms, and I ask them, I say, when they tell me that their loved one, they're typically their child, I say, how do you know? You know what they tell me? We just know. And you know what? Who knows better than mom, right? They just know, not just necessarily instinctively, but they're picking up signs, right? Maybe their child becomes more reclusive. Their grades have dropped. Their eating habits have changed, right? They're not spending time with their friends. They're in their bedroom, for tons of time. They're up, all night and sleep during the day. Keep an eye on what your kids are doing. Ask them how things are going. Look for all those signs. And if there are signs, ask for help. There is help out there. You don't have to necessarily call me, but there are tons of groups around all over the country with mums who'll help you. So stay involved in your children's lives, because if you don't, things can go south very, very quickly. And as far as the marijuana is concerned, I agree. It's a gateway drug. If you're under 25, you shouldn't be touching the stuff. And it does and will cause brain damage, permanent brain damage. And it does cause, from what I've seen, an escalation to other drugs.
They also are now putting fentanyl in the marijuana.
100%.
Well,
It's what
So
you
now you can
always
smoke
say.
a joint and die.
Right.
Yeah.
It's what you see all the time. It's
Yeah.
as parents, and we're going to talk about that
We
when we get
talked
back
about
from
it.
commercial break. But our set is here in Boca Raton, and no one would ever think this happens in Boca. Just like the human trafficking, I know there's one of the high schools here, and some of the hotels right off of I-95 and Glades Road that are under strict watch on the human trafficking. It happens in every community. It happens in yours. Don't think it doesn't. Drugs and opioid crisis have no, I'm going to cry, have no,
But it's true.
based on race, religion, creed, social status.
right.
It
Right.
exists
a few points
everywhere.
before break. You bring up a really good point, Ms. Robert. Right before the show, we had a lady come in. She was a local Boca Raton resident. She lives here. She came by on a break. She needed Narcan, found me, and she didn't know she could wait until January 10th for the next class at the temple. And I just said stop by. She didn't want to be on TV, but she lives about 10 minutes away, and she's concerned about her adult child.
And as we say, our doors are always, always open. And if you're watching this anywhere on social media, give us a call. If we can help you, if we'll get you to Luis, we do not have to put you on air. We'll just get the information. You can write in 888-994-4995. If you're in the area and you need something, come on out. We're at 2400 Northwest Boca Raton Boulevard. It still says Little Plum Family Theater, but we are here, Suite 13. Come on out. We are all here to help you, and it's everywhere.
That's right.
We're going to take a commercial break.
Let's take a break.
Stay tuned. When we come back, more to come. I guess parent involvement is what's next. We'll be right back.
Are you here to be good? Or are you here to be great? Outstanding? Hi, my name is Ann Shoshana Dector, and I am an author, motivational speaker, and leadership educator. I share with individuals and businesses the proven tools necessary so that you can make friends with challenges and use them as opportunities to grow from good to better, so you can have it all. Unified, supportive, and creative corporate communities, financial abundance, and a clear mission-driven purpose. Contact me at goodtobetter2020@gmail.com. Grow from good to better in 2020, work with me individually, or ask me to speak at your next event. Good to Better 20.
Hey, I'm Tony Twyman, creator of the Reboot Wellness Cruise 2020. I invite you to join us as we set sail on the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line's Grand Classica, January 18th through the 20th, for 2 days filled with active lifestyle, healthy nutrition, and virtual wellness. The goal is to get you to experience a vibrational spiritual shift by helping you develop internal balance, sustainable alignment, community, and execution for a healthy, happy life. Walls become doors and mountains move when you understand what you can accomplish. Call 954-998-3284 for more information or visit rebootcruise.com. Join our community by sailing with us to experience a new decade, new you. Again, 954-998-3284 or visit rebootcruise.com. Come sail with us.
And we're back.
And we are back at the Brooklyn Cafe TV After Hours. You'll be listening to this again Saturday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on WWNN.
I want to welcome our WNN family. 4 different stations. And we are going to be opening it up. We're going to be doing promotions. Shows from here, seminars to there from here to there. We even put a bus from here to there.
So we have the Big Bay to bring in more seminars.
That's
because
right.
and it always changes from energy and healing to yoga to maybe we do something on this on a bigger platform and bring more people.
That's right. And I wanted to touch a little bit on the conversation we were having before. We have always said, remember we had talked about Chicago PD watching the show, and I was shocked at watching this thing. You don't know your kid. I'm going to tell you that straight up. And you can take it however you want. They don't have to say it because they have to be politically correct, but I don't. You don't know your kid. And if you think you do, you're a fool. Kids know kids who know kids. Talk to your kids' friends, and they're going to tell you things about your kid you ain't never seen before. And if you don't think that's true, test it. The bottom line is your kid will never come to you. They'll go to a friend before they do. And I've had 20 kids in my house living. I've had football teams. I've done it for 21 years. You don't know, and the consequences can be traumatic.
But let me ask you a question. You know, we're starting our kids network. I mean, we're starting our kids network with little kids, with these young elementary school students called, from Mini Mitzvahs, it's called Kids in Capes. Mm-hmm. And it's about kids helping kids do acts of kindness. And they probably work with your mom, Marcy, as well. And they're over at the JCC. Because kids listen to kids. And
That's
kids
right.
are on social media and they're engaged with kids. They're not going to listen to us, as a matter of fact. Amy and I had to leave the set, and Teddy worked with the girls when they did their opening. Maybe we open up the platform to the next generation, to those, not in elementary school, but the next level of whatever you tell us it is. And we talk about kids to kids or teen to teen, whatever it is, and let's break these stigmas, let's break these barriers, and let them share the information, because they're not going to come to us.
Fear
they're
is
not going to go as much as we wish they did, it's going to be another kid or another parent that sees their children and says, you know what, I see an issue. And as a parent, do you reach out to that other parent if your son or daughter is interacting and you know they're involved with drugs to another child? Do you call that parent and say, I know your child is, or do you not? I'm going to ask Sandra Seid, and I don't even know Sandra, but do we do this as parents? Should we? Are we?
I think we should. I think that we should be the eyes for all of the children, you know, that we should all be watching out. Unfortunately, some parents aren't receptive to receiving information. They don't realize that you're trying to do something good. Instead, they get defensive, and it doesn't always work out that well. I remember when my kids first started driving, there was a boy down the street. He was driving like a bat out of hell. I mean, there was kids playing in the street, and he was flooring it and spinning. And it was a pretty new neighbor, and I knocked on the door and introduced myself. It wasn't the best welcome, and then let them know that we all need to watch out for each other's children, and their son had been driving, crazy.
To me, that's a bigger stigma as a parent, as you knock on the door and say, do you know your child did this? First thing is defensive. Do you know your child's smoking marijuana? You know what I hear? Mm-hmm. So it's just marijuana. They all do it. And my kids are grown, right?
Or
how many times?
Let me be my parent. Let me be the parent to my kid.
How many times we've heard that? So what does it do?
Very, thank you, but he's a good driver.
Well, that's it. What do you do?
He wasn't
because
a good driver. He ended up losing his license.
And Lizzie, you're going to get that pushback from parents, right? If we're talking about gateway, if we're talking about
everybody has their own little way of denying. Everybody, denial.
It's easier to deny.
It's easier to deny than to admit. I mean, to get honest, think about it. Mm-hmm. Who is really getting honest?
Nobody.
But why?
Because we have moments of honesty and moments of clarity that hopefully will change our lives. Sure. But the bottom line is anybody who is actively addictive, I don't care. She took her son to 5 treatment centers. I took my kid brother to 5 or 6 of them at least.
My son was in many.
And you know what?
Once an addict, always an addict is what I was told.
Well, that's a lie too. That's a lie.
But this is what they tell me.
Here's proof right here. 33 years, right here.
Okay,
and she's not. She's not unique. Okay. There's a lot of people out there.
So then tell me, in your own words, the difference. Why is it that you overcame?
Because some people just don't want to. That's the bottom line. If you have to want to, and if you don't have a shot in hell. Okay. And that's the truth. That's the ugly truth of it.
And we can talk about addiction from anything: alcohol, drugs, opioids. If you don't
have the desire,
I wish
done.
Jay were here today.
Dawn, if I could just chime
Please.
in, look, I think the idea that we can save everybody is just not realistic. But I will tell you from experience, if you can keep somebody in recovery for 1 year, they're more likely than not to stay in recovery. Is it a guarantee? Of course not. It's but that's the milestone. That's when the light bulb typically tends to go off. Right, is when they realize they have a problem and they're willing to continue to work the program, because recovery is not something you just take a pill for and say, oh, I'm fixed, I'm recovering.
Right.
It's something you continue to work on, right? It's like your fitness, or if you had, God forbid, you were somebody who had cancer and you went in remission, right? You don't go back to the lifestyle that you had before you had cancer. You work to stay in remission. As far as the issue with the parent, this is it's just marijuana. That more likely not is from ignorance, because I know when I was a kid growing up, which was
when we all were growing up, right?
Exactly. Way too many years ago, I'll speak for myself, right? Maybe back then it was just marijuana, right? It wasn't quite the potency, it wasn't the dangerous drug that it is today.
Exactly.
But it's not just marijuana. Other than, the fentanyl we talked about, I mean, it is really strong stuff, causes permanent brain damage. So if you're a parent that thinks it's just marijuana, you're kidding yourself.
Well, I don't think a lot of times you even know what you're getting, right? It's not as if you're going,
right.
put fentanyl in it.
Yes.
We don't know.
28-year firefighter paramedic. 3 important points here. Again, to go back to the opioid crisis, far more insidious. There are people who've kicked IV heroin in the 60s, 70s who said they have trouble kicking opioids. There are people who beat crack cocaine who can't beat opioids. Number one. Number two, the other important point is, as Mark mentioned, everybody had a different pathway to recovery. Many people rigidly believe in 12-step or faith-based recovery, whether it's Jewish or Christian. Some people need help, whether it's medication-assisted treatment. Some people relapse 10, 15 times. But there is help and there is hope. Everybody had a different pathway, but the one commonality is how more addicting opioids are than anything we've seen in U.S. history.
I know. I just want to piggyback on what Mark said because I agree, Mark. If you can get somebody to stay clean for a year, that was my one hope for my kid brother. You know, just please. I can remember this DA I dealt with out in Colorado because he's lived all over the United States. If he could just stay clean for 1 year, because maybe then the fog would lift enough so that he could start making the decision, hey, you know what? Life is worth living. But these 28-day programs, I'm sorry,
Definitely not enough time.
that is not enough time. My brother white-knuckled each and every one of them. He knew that he knows the game. This wasn't his first rodeo. He would go in there, white-knuckle it for 28. What I mean by that is just hold on for 28 days until he could get out and do his thing.
It's making
Period.
the choice.
but hold on, because then that means he's not there to recover.
No.
He's just there to get over through the system.
Right.
And that leads back to the conversation that we just had a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, right. And,
So-
and eventually, you know what, my kid brother chose, because he would often get
Mm-hmm.
a choice when he was in a jackpot in front of a judge. Often, at the end, my brother chose, he got a choice of jail or treatment.
And he
My
took?
My brother chose jail.
And you have to have the desire to change your life.
Very sad.
You know, consequences get more and more severe, and I know for me that I definitely, I was 29, and I thought I would have, gotten out of it, and I thought I was going to be married and having babies like my girlfriends, and I was still doing all the same stuff. And if I hadn't took the time to work on myself, I never had the opportunity to deal with my father's suicide when I was 17, which basically was the catalyst for me. I mean, I was using
trigger?
anyway, but that's when it escalated more than anything, and I didn't care.
Sandra, can you give us some of your story?
Yes, I lost my son, I guess it's 21 months ago now, Josh, 4 days after he got out of rehab. And, you know, I've learned so much in 21 months. I've gotten to know Josh better in the 21 months since he's been gone, believe it or not. I just really feel strongly the programs, it's actually harmful because it lowers the resistance if they're not in for a length of time. It's not well enough. It's like someone with cancer, giving them a month of treatment and saying, eat clean and good luck to you. You know, it's not the answer for this. I know that, you know, he definitely didn't want to die. He didn't know that he was taking fentanyl, and, you know, he was a law school graduate, real bright kid, and just, you know, it's just such a shame because he had so much to offer. Unfortunately, I don't think he knew that about himself.
That's a lot. Does anyone, you know, trust and believe in themselves and trust and they push? And the stress of law school and professional schools, we do a show on Fridays and tune in on Friday. It's called Momentum Mindset. And Jay Farrow is an attorney and his partner Janine Davis. And Jay, 9 times, he said, he died. And on the last time from alcohol, they told him he had 6 months to live. And he said, that was 2 years ago. He said, I'm going to live. And he has come back, and you can follow his posts every day and what he does. And every Friday they have this show, and he is changing lives, but he is fighting every single day. And he fights here every Friday night.
He decided he was going to live, like you said. He decided to go towards the light. He decided enough is enough. Because he can drink whenever he wants. He's a grown man. And he decided to stop.
That brings up several important points. I truly believe it takes a village to save lives in the opioid pandemic. I have been very blessed to meet angel moms for people who've lost kids, and I've learned a lot about them. But more than anything is there's so many pieces to this puzzle. We know when we do our 2-hour classes, these ladies and I, when we do this, we realize this isn't the only answer. People tell us, oh, you think you're solving the problem. No, we're keeping them alive. One thing we know for sure is that dead people don't recover. They don't have the chance or the choice to choose treatment or not. If they're dead, they will never recover. And the other important point that I really want to stress that Sandra mentioned is people don't realize, they think somebody just got out of treatment or they got out of incarceration, they're good. That is when they're at greatest risk of dying from an overdose, the week after they've been discharged.
That's when they got to be watched the hardest.
Well, yeah, and they've also got, as she mentioned, a very low tolerance. And we cover this and so much more in my 2-hour class. But that's an important message I hope your listeners understand. When somebody gets out of treatment or detox or rehab, they need, as Lizzie and Don mentioned, the importance of so much more. Follow-up, meetings, 12-step, working the program, seeing a therapist, sticking to their regimen and just working it. But again, they're not out of the woods yet. I think, Mark, a year is a good number, but that first week or two is critical.
Who's paying for this year of treatment? Will insurance cover it? Is this private pay? And then it takes us back to only those that have can?
Yeah, so you bring up a good point, Dawn, because a lot of parents say, well, I can afford a year's worth of treatment. You don't have to be in treatment for a year. You just got to stay in recovery for a year. So the treatment component may be 90 days, 180 days, and maybe you say, well, I don't have the money or I don't have the insurance. And I have some parents who will get, sort of rally around, right? They'll do 30 days in a private facility, and the rest of the time will be in some type of county facility, right? You can get into a county facility, it's just typically a wait list. But they need the support system to get them from 90 days or 180 days to that 1 year milestone, okay? It's not just so much keeping them in treatment, it's, being there for them, having access to a sponsor, having access to 12 steps, and perhaps access to a clinician, someone they can go and talk to, because a lot of the people that we see have suffered some type of trauma in their life, and that is a huge trigger. A huge trigger. Trauma, sexual trauma, physical trauma. I had a young man that flew from California, was in a catastrophic accident, he was a pedestrian, got run over by a car, suffered a traumatic brain injury, and after that started to self-medicate with alcohol, and basically, his life went out of control after that. So lots of different things, but the bottom line is, if you can help somebody to stay clean for 1 year, whether it's treatment, support, medically assisted treatment, whatever it is to keep them clean, that has to be the goal. No, and like Louis said, it takes a village. Everybody has to help.
People have to go.
And any of you are crew, I can't call you kids because you're young adults.
Amen.
If you want a
My mother
mic,
still thinks I'm a little
well,
boy.
if they want a mic, I'd love to hear. They're
if you
another
wanna
generation.
chip in, the mics are behind you.
Marcy, you as well.
I wanted to ask, do you have other children besides?
I do.
And
I have
this
three
is
others.
now you have three, okay? And I'm really interested about how the dynamics of this changes now, because the other three that you have, how does it change their lives? How does it change your life? And how are you looking at this whole situation again?
Well, I'm on a deliberate path of my new norm, of keeping myself healthy, of taking good care of myself, of doing what I need to do for myself to keep myself balanced. I just got back. I was in a forest for 3 days with my horse. I just got back Sunday night. I understand now. It's a lifetime of grief for us. Our loss is that deep. It's not something that I also think I want to point out, which is very important, is we've been grieving for many, many years, way before Josh passed. I've been grieving the loss of my son because he was hijacked by addiction. It was, when I looked at him, when I talked to him, it was not the Josh that I knew and loved. At times it was just so intense. So as far as the grief path, that started a long time ago. I always say to everybody, Josh was not the perfect storm. He was not the kid that you thought. He had 162 IQ. He went to law school. He grew up in a family of lots of love. He didn't have a traumatic experience or any abuse or anything. He had parents that loved him, family, went on beautiful family holidays, vacations. Someone did his homework with him, went to libraries. He had a wonderful life. He was not the perfect storm, yet it rained and poured for over 10 years until it stopped.
Did you know?
I did. I didn't know it was heroin for a long time. I think that probably started in law school. So I think one of the things that I feel very strongly about is educating people. Yes, it is your child. It doesn't matter if you're rich, you're poor. No one's immune from this. Josh was, like I say, Josh was not the perfect storm. He was not the guy you thought. He was personable. Everybody loved him. He was the guy who was probably most likely to succeed, but he was suffering from addiction.
Well, I'm going to ask you guys, and our crew, and you don't need to name names or anything, but does any of this resonate with you,
Or anybody
Marcy,
you know.
Brady, Glenn, or
Or
anyone you
anybody
know?
It doesn't
Yeah, I
have to be
mean,
you.
like, I grew up in Florida. I don't know about the other interns, but I grew up in Florida, and I've seen this firsthand. I went to school in Palm Springs. It's in, like, not the best area, and I saw this firsthand of people, you know, trying marijuana at first and then going to Xanax or other opioids, or even, I mean, I remember one time I was at the Lake Worth Beach, and, you know, everyone loves that beach, and I saw someone do heroin next to me. And it was like really traumatizing, you know, but I think the first step is everyone needs to be educated, especially people my age. I'm only 20 years old, and I've seen things that most people who are my age have never seen before. You know, I go to school up in the Northeast, and people say, oh, I can't believe that's happening, but it's happening up there too, you know.
Of course.
People have to just open their eyes, and they have to just be educated and be aware that there is a stigma, you know, but there's also a stigma about mental health. There's a stigma about other things, but if we're going to fight this, we have to be able to openly talk about it like we are today.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I want to ask: is anger the way to attack this problem? Because you get angry sometimes that not enough is being done, and I can sympathize about the tears. I had a good friend of mine, Freddie B. May you rest in peace, because I was a friend in high school, and I didn't pay attention to the signs. Okay, and he died. He killed himself. He was using drugs very heavily. But do we get angry to make a change? Do we get angry and stand up? Do we make noise? What is the approach? Because I want to get into the approach. I know the problem. I see the problem. It's really funny because moms seem always to get hit the hardest on these things. But what do we do?
I don't think moms get hit the hardest. I think moms, it's okay for moms to cry.
Well,
and for
I'ma
some
tell
reason,
ya.
men,
No, men cry. I'm gonna tell you, any man tell you don't cry is a liar.
they won't sit in public though, if moms
Freddie, I
do.
gotta tell you, if I had a nickel for every crying mother I've spoken to, I'd be retired.
Yep. And if I had $1 for every crying man who takes a guy to the back, or he goes into the car, or he just moves away, they cry. But how do we attack the problem? You got a stage here. How do we use it? How do we say, you know something, enough is enough? Let's stand up.
Okay, I'll start the discussion there.
Okay.
There's so many aspects to that we touch upon in our 2-hour class. Mark kind of mentioned it. The ladies have mentioned it. But first of all, it starts with education. Let's go back to the nuts and bolts. Ms. Grobert said it perfectly. Every first aid class. The Red Cross is right down the street, you know, about 5 blocks. Why not teach Narcan in every single CPR or first aid class? Number one. Number two, there is room in secondary education, public and private, for more awareness education like what Sandra's support group did. Number three, we need brave women like Dawn who are stepping up and saying, I beat it, you can too. It's one thing for me to get up there and talk about it from a clinical fire rescue point of view, what it does, what it won't do, how bad your life will be. I also worked in the jail for 15 years, Broward and Palm Beach, and I can share stories about those hellholes. But it's not the same hearing it from somebody who's actually made it to the other side. And then you need people like Lizzie who've lost somebody who just are with their kind heart helping. But to answer your question, it is so multifaceted. I found the same issues popped up when I went to California, Montana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas. It's not just us. Every single state lacks funding for detox and rehab beds. Every single state has loopholes where people aren't forced or pressured into getting treatment. Every single state has problems where fire rescue or the ER are not giving enough Narcan. So it's multifaceted. So I don't know that anger. I think if the anger inspires you to positive energy, like again, I admire the angel moms that I met, like Dawn and so many, and Sandra, who've taken their pain and really they channel into something that is helping so many other people. To me, that's more effective than anger, but you're right. We need to get fired up. And the problem is, I'll get back to what I said. I know it sounds ridiculous. We lost more people to the opioid crisis than the Vietnam War. We can fill an NFL Super Bowl stadium, but the reality is this. 0.4% of the population died in 2017. It's still not enough. And like I said, I'm doing this. I really, truly have met a lot of people, but before this, I didn't know anybody personally. Nobody at the age of 53 who had been impacted. My world was different. So there's too many people who go to temple or church or who live, but I hear it all the time. I'll be trying to give out Narcan. They'll say, well, I don't do drugs. I don't hang around druggies. And I'm like, well, no, you don't. But it could be anybody's son or daughter. And unless you're a hermit and don't ever let another human being into your house, if one single person comes in to use your restroom, you have the risk of an overdose.
But you just mentioned the problem, which is denial.
Stigma and denial, yes.
Denial all of a sudden becomes the
Yes.
friend of, don't worry, go get sick and die, because denial You don't know. Nobody knows. It's like I told Captain Diaz, how come I can always find crime, but I can't find a cop?
Go outside.
Right.
I mean, come on.
That's good. You're from Brooklyn, aren't you? Where are you from?
I'm from the Bronx.
Of
but-
course you are.
I mean,
from
come
Bronx.
on. How many people do we see? Things that you see. If you were a cop, you'd be making an arrest every 15 minutes.
You know, the other thing, Freddie, is that we've made a business out of incarcerating people who have substance uses. So
And there you have
I was a prosecutor for 5 years, okay? When I was
There you have
I was a student intern in 1993. I was full of energy, right? And I said, we gotta put everybody in jail. And then after about 6 months, I was like, man, you know, I'm starting to see the same people coming back over and over again. So we talk about the revolving door at the emergency room. We got a revolving door at the courthouse, right? People who are coming back in through the system. And in Florida, the legislative mandate here, and it's in black and white, you go read it for yourself, is to punish first and rehabilitate second, okay? So we made big business out of incarcerating people who need treatment. In Portugal now, you get arrested for drug offense, they give you access to treatment. They don't throw you straight in jail.
Right.
Here, we put people in jail. We'd rather spend money on keeping people in jail than we would giving them access to treatment. We would save an absolute fortune if we just gave people access to treatment instead of throwing them right in jail, which is what we like to do here, especially in Florida.
Even the correction needs to be correct.
That's
This
why
is
this is
crazy.
so
Exactly.
multifaceted.
Here's an interesting piece, though, because you just mentioned Portugal, and I believe that is where they made the decision, because they had a huge crisis, drug crisis.
Right.
They made a
11 years
decision
ago.
and stop, instead of making it a criminal offense, they legalized the drugs, not the dealers, not the distributors, but they let everybody out of their jails that were in there for possession and use. And all the space that they had when they let all those people out, they turned those facilities into treatment facilities, medical places where these people could go get help. I'm not saying addicts aren't criminals, because eventually, you know, to support a habit, you're probably going to do something that is against the law. But I'm saying it's a disease. It is, you know, we got to stop treating it just from the criminal aspect.
But that's the part that nobody wants to help. They say, well, they're all criminals anyway. Put them in a closet and let that whole thing go away, and good luck.
So
Freddie,
before
I
we
had
go
a-
to
I had a
commercial,
client that went to prison. He told me he had better access to drugs in prison than outside.
I was going to talk to you. I was going to ask you about that, because in prison ain't going to be no hell. It's going to be a hellhole in there.
I have a client in federal custody right now. Been fighting for 3 years to get him out. They get lockdowns all the time because they're getting drugs snuck in. Drugs are getting thrown over the fence. The prison officers are bringing drugs in.
Yep.
The inmates are bringing drugs in. So the whole idea that we put people in prison and they don't have access to drugs is just not true. It's just not true.
I worked as a jail paramedic, and I can tell you that I've given Narcan inside the jail, Palm Beach. I can tell you I've been in Broward County, and we've had the dogs come in. We've done a shakedown and found some crazy stuff inside cells, inside just jail.
well, it's multifaceted problem, and we need to find some solutions. And there's not just one that's simple. And before we go to break, Mara, we miss you. We wish you were here. She says she lost many friends to addiction, including her boyfriend, Eric. Her senior capstone in college made a website in addiction, fixforaddiction.com, and her story is on the site. So, Mara, we love you and we miss you. Your mom's very proud of you. Marcy, thank you for stepping up, because you know what? It's your generation. It's you guys coming forward that's going to make the difference in your generation. You know, we only know what we know as parents and as professionals, but it's you guys getting to your friends and reaching out. And I know you have a story as well. That's what makes the difference.
Well, you got to, you know, we're not doing, I've always said this, we don't do a good enough job. When I was coaching up in New York, I had a lot of run-ins with the way kids were being treated, and they came to stay in my house. And I used to go to them, and I used to go to their parents, and I lost half those kids. I lost them to drugs. So, you want to talk about anger? I'm very angry. Enough. It's just enough.
Anger, any kind of speaking, that's the main thing. We've got to speak about it.
Let's go to commercial break. Give us a call when we get back. 888-994-4995, and we'll be right back.
Are you here to be good? Or are you here to be great, outstanding? Hi, my name is Ann Shoshana Dector, and I am an author, motivational speaker, and leadership educator. I share with individuals and businesses the proven tools necessary so that you can make friends with challenges and use them as opportunities to grow from good to better, so you can have it all. Unified, supportive, and creative corporate communities, financial abundance, and a clear mission-driven purpose. Contact me at goodtobetter2020@gmail.com. Grow from good to better in 2020, work with me individually or ask me to speak at your next event. Good to better 2020 at gmail.com.
Hey, I'm Tony Twyman, creator of the Reboot Wellness Cruise 2020. I invite you to join us as we set sail on the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line's Grand Classica, January 18th through the 20th, for 2 days filled with active lifestyle, healthy nutrition, and virtual wellness. The goal is to get you to experience a vibrational spiritual shift by helping you develop internal balance, sustainable alignment, community, and execution for a healthy, happy life. Walls become doors and mountains move when you understand what you can accomplish. Call 954-998-3284 for more information or visit rebootcruise.com. Join our community by sailing with us to experience a new decade, new you. Again, 954-998-3284 or visit rebootcruise.com. Come sail with us.
Dr. Lee of Boca Raton Acupuncture Clinic with the PhD in neuroscience. Her practice in acupuncture helps hormone balancing, total relaxation, diabetes, and inflammation. For additional questions or to schedule a free consultation, call Boca Raton Acupuncture Clinic at 617-817-1910. Acupuncture and Chinese herbs are very effective in treating many ailments and diseases and have been used for thousands of years in China. Call today for your free consultation at 617-817-1910.
And we're back.
And we're back at the Brooklyn Cafe. Not an easy show, but I'm so grateful. We're so grateful to have you all joining us and sharing your stories and the information, because this is just the beginning of the conversation. And what we always try to do is open our platform and share, so you all have an open platform to come share the stories and see how we can reach more people. And Mara and so many people that have touched our lives.
That's right. That's what it comes down to. Mara, we love you. We'd like to see you. Why don't you come down and say hi?
And before we have some time, but Lizzie, you're going to demonstrate how the Narcan works, and I want people to know how they can get it. I want to go over that if people are tuning into this hour. So, Luis, you have
I'll let Don and Sandra, since again this is all about teaching people how to fish. They've been through the class. Tell everybody what concerns, if any, about how easy it is to use, what issues, what concerns. Really, it's very simple.
Are there cons, right? Is there something that could possibly happen?
Don and Sandra help. Lizzie will demonstrate.
Yeah. So this cannot hurt anybody. It can't hurt a child, a small child, a baby 1 month old. It can't hurt an animal. This is not going to hurt you. There's no chance that this will hurt you, but it will save a life. So if you see somebody who looks dead, they could be changing colors: gray, purple, blue. All you have to do, gurgling. They call that the death chatter. If they're gurgling, don't be afraid to use this. And you don't put it on both sides. You just stick it up one's nostril and plunge. The plunger's right here where my thumb is.
There's a plunger in there?
Yep, right there.
That's the whole
That's
thing?
all you do.
There's nothing else that goes with it? That's the dosing in it?
This is it.
Wow.
It's not sterile. There's no needle.
This
You
is
could
the
carry in a
lifesaver right
baggie.
here. Right here. Can you see this? Yeah. See that?
You just push the whole plunge just once.
Just one nostril. It's just one nostril.
Matter of fact, I have
Boom.
enough here. I want to give everybody here one. Everybody one.
And it comes in a box that looks like that, and there's 2 that come per box.
And what do these cost, Luis?
They're about
150
$150
bucks.
to 170
keep
at
this
the
with
store
you.
If you have no insurance, that's our gift from us to you,
Wow.
from the gang here. so that everybody, please keep it in your car, your
Yeah.
glove compartment.
In your car.
Lizzie, Dawn, Cheryl.
He
I
won't
in my purse.
He won't
in my
destroy it
car.
in the car.
No, I have one in my. Dawn, who's my best girlfriend in the whole wide world, she doesn't go. We go out 3, 4, 5 times a week together. She will not go out
Without it.
without an Narcan. I don't care if she has to stick it in her boot.
And how can people get this if they want it? How can people get access to this one? Because this, and we go again, this is the 4 milligram. This is not the 0.4. This is not what's in the injections. This is not what's on
One
the
dose
rigs.
works,
This is not what's in CVS. This is.
Well, that is what
This one is, but the other one's.
It's much more than fire rescue or the ER will give them.
But it's not this.
Correct. It's not the auto injector.
So if people want it, they get it how?
First of all, the easiest way is to go to CVS or Walgreens in any state or U.S. territory. With or without insurance, they will give it to you. You have to pay for it. Most insurance plans will pay for it, including Medicare, Medicaid, Veterans, Obamacare, Standard. Most insurance plans right now pay for it.
No questions asked. 'Cause, you
No
know,
questions
insurance is
asked.
kind of funky, and they go, well, if you
Even
haven't
if you're
tried
not in
something
recovery,
else. Okay.
Even if you're not in treatment, even if you haven't seen a doctor in years, they will sell it to you. Somebody's got to pay for it. You have your generic prescription copay. Cigna is the only one right now that doesn't charge a copay for Narcan. All the other insurance plans do. The other option is just Googling your zip code and put free Narcan. We've traveled to places that had no programs. The third option is to contact us. My name is Luis Garcia. They can find me on Facebook. My phone number is 954-859-4696. My Facebook and GoFundMe is USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. These ladies here and Mark, we're going to teach another class at the Palm Beach Orthodox Synagogue, 120 North County Road on the island on January 10th, 1 to 3. I have other classes coming up in Hendry County at the Health Department in Clewiston. We've gone all over the state. But they can find it far more easily if they make the effort, and if not, they can contact me at the last resort. I will ship it to them for free thanks to GoFundMe if they watch 3 one-hour videos I have on Facebook.
And how did you end up going to the Palm Beach Orthodox Synagogue? I mean, on the Palm Beach Island, right?
Yes,
People would think no way ever for
And-
the
and I'm
stigma
so
of
grateful.
Judaism and the island of Palm Beach. How did that even happen?
It's a necessary discussion. Rabbi Shiner reached out to me about a year ago. He heard about me, and I couldn't speak at his leadership conference. I managed to speak this last time we were there about a month ago, and then they invited me back. And as the universe would work and God would work, I had Channel 13 from Tel Aviv reach out saying they want to come in and cover an event. They didn't ask for a temple, but it's like, wow, I'm getting ready to set something up at a temple. I've got an Israeli station, so it worked out well. That's a very important point. I've had folks reach out to me from all religions, and interestingly enough, some of the greatest stigma is folks in religious power structures. I've been invited and uninvited from a couple of places of worship in the last 2.5 years. I have events set up, and then a few weeks before, they say, well, we spoke to the board of directors, we spoke to the elder, we spoke to somebody, and they're not comfortable with us maybe enabling drug use. And that's it. I get uninvited. So I'm grateful. This is only my 3rd Jewish facility. I've done about a dozen Christian groups, but I will go anywhere.
I mean,
So
if you
it-
talk about a stigma, right? And
Yeah.
I know Dawn's Jewish, and I know you are, and it doesn't matter what any religion anyone is. But if we can't start at the top from a religious organization, and I'm going to cry again, and support our kids and our families, then what are we doing? Why do we do what we do? That needs to be. And Marcy, I'm so glad you're here because your mom and JFS is so accepting to everyone and what they do with Meals on Wheels and what they do for the elderly. But whether it be a temple, a church, a mosque, if we can't reach out as a community and help our families.
But you heard what he just said? That the places where he was uninvited,
that's what I'm
that
saying.
he's enabling because he's giving it.
Well, that's what
I mean,
I'm saying. I
man,
don't
you talk about
understand.
a twist on words.
Well,
I'm
what's
speechless.
interesting about that is that there's Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christian organization that a lot of churches along the East Coast have. I know in the Midwest it's CASA, which stands for Christians Against Substance Abuse. So
It makes no sense.
no, it doesn't make any sense.
You
But
know-
it's just to me that just screams.
Enabling. That's a unique choice of words.
We realize it's a problem. We're going to do what we have, the bare minimum what we need to do to help, but we really don't want to.
Blinders.
Oh, I might get dirty if I touch that addict. I mean, there's a lot of that still going around.
Of
Freddie, I
course.
think it
It's
comes
just
down to what you were saying,
perpetuating
which
the
is we
stigma.
got to talk about it. I mean, one of the reasons I got involved in JFS, and that's how I know Marcy, is because within the Orthodox Jewish community, it's just not talked about. And I can tell you, I marchman acted an Orthodox rabbi's daughter. Called from New York. I put her in treatment down here.
Really?
She was in treatment for 9 months and unfortunately ended up overdosing and passing away. So I'm going to tell you something. It affects everybody. And I don't care what community you're in, religious, non-religious. If you don't talk about it, it's going to affect you. And it's going to affect you more if you don't talk about it.
It's like we were saying, unless it affects somebody in your family,
You
my
say not
dog,
me.
my dog ate my homework, all of a sudden, then it becomes a problem.
But this
Not
is a
until-
responsibility of our community, religion, whatever your beliefs are. This is why we do what we do. This is what
it's also
community is supposed
to be open
doing.
about it so
Yes.
that you can receive support. And I'm talking about the family members. We were not secretive about Joshua's addiction, and my friends were so supportive of me through even when he was alive, and certainly after he's been gone. But in the past 21 months, I have met parents who they don't want anyone to know what their child died of. They're afraid that people are going to point the finger and what went on in that house. Oh, things aren't, there must be more to the story. What kind of parents are they?
Well, there was a failing on the parenting.
There's
which
a
is
failing on
ridiculous to
somebody's
suggest that
fault.
To suggest that she was a bad mother because her child
Exactly.
That's insanity, okay?
So we need to talk about it. We need to be open and honest. And I have to tell you, I have just, I have been absolutely, my heart has been so warmed by the support that I receive in the community. I started a program called Step It Forward. We've collected over 1,500 pairs of shoes and given it out to rehabs and to detoxes to honor Josh. And tomorrow, Christmas Day, we're running a big recovery meeting at the barn. We're expecting about 150 people, speaker meeting, and we have about 500 pairs of shoes to give out. We need to talk about it, and we need to be there to support one another. It doesn't matter what color you are, what race you are, what religion you are. We're here on this earth to be here for everybody.
As shocking as this is, I'm so glad that you're having this discussion. And again, I've got to thank Rabbi Moshe Shiner at the Palm Beach Orthodox Synagogue because they are brave in doing this on the island. But as shocking as that might be, the resistance by our religious leaders, I'll tell you who's got more stigma. My peers. ER, police, fire, corrections, courthouse personnel. Their stigma and their judgmentality is far worse. I had a friend. I've lost most of my friends. I've been interviewed on this in a couple of fire rescue magazines. When I started doing this thing 2.5 years ago, I had no idea that men and women I'd seen in the ER, cops I'd worked with, firemen, folks I'd seen at the courthouse, would frown upon what I'm doing. And I had about 40 Facebook friends that were people I knew in real life. I've got like 3 of them left. They've all unfriended me, blocked me, argued with me. And one of the worst was a captain from Ohio, guy I've known for years, super nice guy, very religious, great, big family. And 1.5 years ago, we had this discussion. He was talking about something else. We were talking about fire radios, and I said, "Hey, do you see what I'm doing? I'm giving me a Narcan." He said, "Yeah, that's a pretty stupid idea." And I mean, he just blew into me, and I was shocked. I'd never seen this side to him. Good guy. That was 1.5 years ago. He called me a couple weeks ago. And because I'd seen on Facebook his wife has cancer now, so I reached out and said, "Listen, I'm really sorry. She's in my thoughts and prayers." He goes, "Thanks." And he goes, "Oh, by the way, I owe you an apology." I'm like, "For what?" He said, "Remember we talked 1.5 years ago?" I go, "Yeah, about the Narcan thing. I'm not bringing that up again." He says, "Well, I owe you an apology." He said, "I just found out so-and-so, his son, his 20-year-old son is hooked on opioids." He says, "We're getting him into treatment. He's here with us. We're watching him, and I was wrong." And I was just flabbergasted, but that goes back to what I've said, what somebody said earlier.
It affected
Sadly,
his...
until it affects him, and then they change. Now he's like all supportive, but 1.5 years ago, it was so ugly, the argument we had.
That's amazing that you say your peers. That's just shocking.
They are the worst. They are the worst stigma, and I go on Facebook, and I've spoken. Surprisingly, I'm really shocked that the circuit judges had me speak, the police and corrections chief, the DEA send their agents. I don't sugarcoat it. I can get up on my soapbox, if you will, because I get up there and say, "Hey, I've never tried drugs, never been arrested, don't smoke, don't drink, never been drunk. I also don't have any personal interest. We are not good human beings, and we're certainly terrible professionals if we have anything less than compassion and empathy for
But
somebody battling a
it's about
disease."
educating people. And
Yeah.
before I started working with you in this capacity, I did this in my kids' school capacity, right? It was about bringing seminars forward. It's about educating. It's about sharing the information. And parents don't know. You can't say they're all burying their heads. We don't know. You and I didn't know this 4 milligram versus anything else, right? If you call 911 and you expect help, how would anyone know there's something better, something stronger that can make a difference? If we don't educate our schools, if we don't get to the PTAs, if we don't get in there, then nobody knows. So I can't say this is all because they don't care, our community doesn't support. We're not educated on everything, and that is the platform that we need to share and get that information out to the school systems, to the middle schools, to the PTAs.
I'll give you that one.
Thank you.
The moment after that sentence, now we start.
Okay.
And then I'm going to use that and say, okay, now you know. So what we're going to do?
I just wanted to share one thing when you all were talking about religious institutions. I have been a member of Temple Bethel over 30 years, and they have brought in so many people and educated. They had a parents program. Unfortunately, it didn't last that long, but I have spoke on a Friday night Shabbat service. There was 3 of us that spoke, and when they look at me and I share, that I'm also an addict, I don't look like an addict, so it helps in that respect. I've brought in younger people to one of the groups there, and they could ask questions, and it really helped a lot. Also when we spoke about our sons, the people come out when they know, and you let people know. I have so many people that contact me that their kids are now they're now finding out that they're using drugs. And what I have also seen is this is like chemical warfare, and it's the kids that are starting from like 20 to 30. They've lost so many of their friends. I mean, there's so many, and also as far as parents, I can't tell you that I was in a room and there was 5 of us. It wasn't for a support group. It was that many of us that have lost them.
Well, let's give out your information so people who are listening and watching can reach out to any of you, get the information. Maybe we'll start one end. For Sandra, for people to reach out. We work with ponies, I heard.
Oh, you have an event coming up.
I do. I work with Therapeutic Ponies. It's called Personal Ponies. It's a 501c3 not-for-profit. And we work with children with special needs, Alzheimer's and dementia patients, and we do go to rehabs and detox centers with the therapy ponies as well. They can go inside elevators, they even go in intensive care units. So my number is 561-445-4456.
All right, and Lizzie?
Oh, and I'm sorry, Sandra, what's the name of, you have a nonprofit for shoes? I heard something about sneakers.
An organization, it's called Step It Forward. You can find us on Facebook.
Step It Forward on Facebook.
You gotta get
And you can contact me if you do need a Narcan, because I do have a supply. I travel with Luis and help him with some of his events, not all of them, because I also have a job to pay my bills, and I work for a company that helps people get paid when they get sick. And I mean, from the flu to getting in a car accident, people are so fed up with the high cost of their premiums for health insurance nowadays, and even higher deductibles. It's just gotten so ridiculous. So I try and help the actual person who gets sick get money and get that in your pocket so that you don't have to, if you're sick, you can't be at work. But my number, it's an Arkansas number, but I am really, truly here in South Florida. It's 870-275-3788. Once again, that's 870-275-3788.
And I recommend anybody looking for supplement or any insurance that I've sent several people. They're all very happy with Lizzie.
Yeah. I'm a good girl, that's why.
And Dawn, your information?
Okay, my name is Dawn Jonas, and I own Recovery Zone, a women's 3/4 way house, strictly housing in downtown Delray, so it's convenient for them to get jobs and get to meetings, and teaching them how to be independent without using. It's as close to being on your own, but with accountability. You can reach me at 561-699-1577.
All right, and we have a caller also, Brady? All right, well, if you just call, just give us a call back, please, 888-994-4995.
You know,
I want to give these out
we're
also.
gonna give them out. It's funny, when I was, I was an altar boy in Featherbed Lane and University Avenue in the Bronx, which is one of the toughest neighborhoods in the Bronx. And drugs were rampant back in the day. And they had a program called Deaf is Done, D-O-N-E. And we used to walk through Featherbed Lane. I'll never forget this. It was on a Friday. And my mother used to tell me, I had to carry the crucifix for all this, right? I said, Mom, I know all of the dealers and everybody down there. This is kind of scary. And one of the issues about fixing the problem is that your fear. It's about going into these places and saying, you know, son, I know you. And I didn't want to do it. And my father walked with me. He says, you're going to do it. Let's go. I did it for 3 years as an altar boy. And I had the whole altar boy thing and everything else. And I just think about the fear factor about getting involved, making a difference. Because I'm going to tell you, the other side, the drugs have gotten worse. They've gotten trickier because they've gotten smarter as businessmen. That's the bottom line. This is all about money. They're making it, and we're giving it to them. So how do you overcome fear? How do you overcome that stigma of fear?
Education.
I'm going to tell you something. You start picking on somebody's tree, because we had that kid in here from Atlantic High School. They chopped down that tree where they were selling drugs.
You know what he did?
What did he do?
He found another tree.
He found another tree.
He has a foundation called UDT, Under the Tree. And he actually was picked as Heisman Trophy winner for Atlantic High School last year, Jackson Destine. And he said all they did was they cut the tree down and the kids had to find someplace else to go. But let me give these out to you as well. These are our Hope Hearts. And this is what we like to give people when you need some hope and someone else needs a little bit of hope. You can pay it forward. And you can actually go to our website, brooklyncafe.tv. They're all numbered. Go and number it, register it, and we really want to see how far hope travels. But we also know people don't like to give them up. So if you give it up, come back and get another one because there's always more.
I can imagine this group.
And we say
you're going to have to order 400 of them a
just
day.
choose one because you always choose the right one.
Yeah.
It chooses you, these hearts. So this is our way of giving everyone a little bit of hope and gratitude and pay it forward. And it's Christmas Eve. We're going to be replaying the show again on Saturday.
Yes.
And Teddy's going to grab the phone to see who the caller is.
Does it drop it?
Drop it. What'd you get, Dawn?
Beauty. Be willing to love.
Be willing to love. What'd you get?
Mine says create. Wow. I think I'm creating
I think you've done
a
that.
chance at life.
I think you've been doing a whole bunch of that.
Mark?
Mine says you are the light.
Marcy?
Mine says joy.
Ben, you going to take one too? It's a Christmas Eve gift.
Oh, he has. You never had one before? You've been here 10 years.
We're ready. We have a caller as well.
All right, Mrs. Smith, you're on.
Hey guys.
Hey, how are you?
Hey Liz. Hey Sandra. It's Bailey.
It's Bailey.
How you doing?
How you doing, Bailey? We have a message.
I'm good.
Want to say hi
I'm
to
so
Louise?
happy to be watching and listening to the things that you guys are talking about, because you both know that I advocate for all these things, and especially the religious part. You know, I'm Orthodox, and the stigma of mental illness and mental health is a very, very big problem. And what I call it always is sweeping it under the rug. They don't want to bring it up. They don't want to talk about it. And it's unfortunately caused so many, many, many deaths. And I always say if all these people would come together, like Sandra does, and, you know, share their stories, you know, bring it to the light, we may be able to help going forward from these things happening. You know, I had gone to my rabbi and I had said, would you bring, you know, this guy in to synagogue? And he's like, no. You know, because like you guys were saying before, they think, you know, we're going to talk about it, all of a sudden everybody's going to be doing drugs. Well, guess what? They are already doing drugs.
Thank you, Bailey.
And
We have another caller clicking in. But you're absolutely right. If everyone from every community actually stepped forward, everyone would realize it's happening in their community, and we don't need to sweep it under the rug because one person's going to find another. My grandfather always used to say, 1 and 1 is 11. You're going to help many, many more souls if we actually share it. Why are we keeping this a secret? Because of what? Because of religion or non-religion or
Judgmentality. Again, it goes back at what I found
That's what it is.
universally.
Shame.
Shame and judgmentality.
Judgmentality and fear.
Yeah.
Fear, like it's like they're gonna catch it.
But you've made such a huge difference. Mark, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes, the fear comes from the parents. I get calls from parents all the time, and they're so afraid that if they put their loved one into treatment involuntarily, the child's going to hate them forever. And I say, if something happens to your child, you're going to hate yourself forever.
That's
So-
right. And you got to live.
But
And
you know
you're gonna
what?
have to
It's a
live with
serious
that.
commitment.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody, and it's a very difficult decision for a parent to make.
Now,
And it's the fear.
now let me ask real quick. We have a little time left. Do we attack the problem? I know you're doing the mini mitzvahs.
Maybe another caller.
And
we've got a caller.
and it's a nice thing you're doing because you're getting at the kids young, which is always best. You want to start young, and hopefully it works its way through the system and everything else. But then you have those that are already involved.
Yes, I can.
How do we make it so that they become, like this young lady here, part of the solution to the problems? We got to try to get them through it, and then they become a spokesperson for it. This is a very complicated
We have a
situation.
call also. Who's on the phone?
What's his name?
All right, Mr. Church, you're on.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Chris. I'm calling from Hope Sound, and I just wanted to call in and personally thank Luis for all of the hard work that's going into the Narcan program. I really think that this program is very unique in that it's privately funded, and it faces the public. It's really an amazing program, and I just really, really appreciate all the hard work that goes into it. I know that this is Luis' passion, and as public safety officers, we're all wired to want to help people, and this is a really unique way of being able to do that, so thank you.
Hey, Chris, I gotta say hi to you. Remember me, Liz?
Oh, hi, Liz. How are you?
I'm good. You didn't recognize me, huh, without my insurance garb on?
And Chris is unique in that he's also retired paramedic chief. If I could, I won't say what agency, but would you agree? I mean, you've heard me talk about how big an issue the stigma is, even among us 911 professionals. We've got to battle that. What are your thoughts as a retired medic, chief?
Well, I have to say, I really had when the opioid crisis really started to hit us here in southeast Florida, my perspective on it, when I started hearing about Narcan for the public and for our broader first responders outside of fire rescue, I really had sort of a very hard perspective on it. I'm like, you know what? I just don't know that this is a great way to address the problem. I mean, what is this going to encourage people to push that line? And unfortunately, over time, this has become such a big issue, and it's also touched my family personally. We lost a niece about 3 months ago to a heroin overdose. She had been clean for 3 years. She relapsed once, as far as we can tell. She got a load of heroin that was laced with fentanyl, and she died. And that really helped to change my perspective on this. Providing Narcan is not going to encourage anybody to do anything except for live through an overdose. And, I really think I drive a lot for Uber now in my spare time. And the areas that I drive, I certainly am in areas where I'm picking up people that are very high. And just, as a former medic, it would feel terrible to me if I was in a situation where somebody OD'd in my car and I had to wait for rescue. Just those 10 minutes that it's going to take for rescue to get there is enough for that person to die on my watch. And that's just not right. So I really think that this is a very, very unique program being, privately funded. I think that that's unique, and I think that this is one of the most effective programs in the country for doing what we're doing. So my perspective has definitely very, very much changed over the course of the past couple of years. And it's like, if somebody was sick from something else, why would I withhold medication from them? I would never do that. So in this situation, if we can help, why wouldn't we help?
Thank you, Chris, so much. This is a conversation that we not even scratched the surface on, but I thank you. We thank you all so much for joining us. For Luis and Mark. Mark, you got something to say too?
Yeah, last thing. If anyone was like listening or watching and they just need to take a couple things from today, I would just like to say that it's okay to ask for help. Everyone always asks for help. It's okay to ask for help, and also there are resources, and just be more educated, because that's the thing. At the end of the day, you need to be educated to save a life.
And ask for help.
Yes. Thanks, Marcy.
Thank you all so much. What a great conversation. Unfortunately, it's a sad show to have as we hit the holidays, but an important show. And you ladies are tremendous in your efforts, and we're so sorry for your loss. But wow, what a difference you're making in the community. And you are amazing. You came out on the other side. So whatever we can do, you always have an open platform with us.
Got a home here, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Merry
Thanks.
Christmas, everyone.
Thank you
Happy
all.
Hanukkah.
Christmas,
Happy
happy
Kwanzaa.
Hanukkah.
It is Christmas Eve. It is the third night of Hanukkah. It's a big week.
Saturday's the third night?
By Saturday, it'll be the seventh night.
It's the seventh night.
Tonight's the third night. The re-airing's the seventh night. So happy Hanukkah again. Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas Eve, everyone. Be safe. Be kind to each other.
Don't drive drunk and don't be late.
Bye-bye.
Bye.